Hi, this is Janet, and I'm Tony, and I'd like to start this talk with Taipei Times headline: Prosecutors raid Bureau over fluoro. And investigators yesterday raided the Bureau of Animal and Plant Health Inspection and Quarantine and seized a number of documents as the government continued to field criticism over its handling of a bird flu outbreak. So basically they've concealed this for at least 2 years. They've actually known that there was H5N2, and they've had secret meetings, and the experts actually signed the documents knowing that this was a problem. They didn't report to the international, it's called IOEA. So that was what actually resulted in the official, the head of this committee, stepping down.
And just in this article, it's talking about how there was an international journalist in December that had reported it, and then actually the Tainan government reported it on February 8th. So this new outbreak, what they're just basically saying in here is that even though, you know, these people reported it, they didn't say anything, and if it was reported by the government on February 8th, and then, you know, it's been 3 weeks and nobody's said or done anything about it, it's a little bit scary. What they're saying is that actually H5N2 doesn't affect people. They don't, you know, have any repercussions from it. But regardless, I think the public needs to know that and make their own decision.
Right. Well, actually, before the election in this year, and just 2 months prior to that, I've already actually watched the independent film. And there was this journalist, I would say, his name is Li Huiren, and he actually went into details, actually interviewing the government officials, that actually one of them stepped down from the BAPHIQ, which is the short for the Bureau of Animal and Plant Health Inspection and Quarantine. But they're actually trying to make the higher-ranking official step down from I think it's the Bureau of Agriculture. Yeah. And so this didn't really come as a surprise for me, because I know for political reasons they didn't expose this, because Chen Shui-bian was actually part of the scandal, but Ma Ying-jeou's government didn't really deal with it either for the election. So it's pretty sad that before the election they actually sacrificed a lot of the farmers at the farmers' expense, and a lot of them actually lost a lot of income from the chicken dying, and this might be spreading at the same time. If they actually stopped this and then they reported this 2 years ago, and then we probably wouldn't have this epidemic.
Right. Because, I mean, there were, like, a lot. I forget how many it said had to be, like, you know, put down.
Like, more than, like, 60,000.
Yeah, something like that. That's a lot
chickens,
that's a lot of loss of income.
Right. And
for farmers.
Actually, I saw one of the male farmer actually was just stopping himself from crying, you know, and he was gonna have a breakdown, he said. and then one of the female farmers were just crying like I've had so much loss and I didn't know this. And actually one of the farmers asked the I think it was Xu Tianlai, I think, that whether he knew about it or not, and he just said, well, we're not going to expose this because the whole industry is going to be affected. So he was trying to evade a little bit of the facts and left. And this farmer was actually interviewed by one of the media.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, yeah, if the government did this, you know, here they are talking about like this debate over rectopamine, whether we should have that or not, but at the same time they're allowing, you know, birds with, you know, H5N2 to just be there and not tell anybody about it. So it's really bad for Taiwan, it's really bad for farmers, and if it's true, it doesn't make, you know, Taiwanese people look good in the international, what was that, OIE.
Right. Well, well, besides, let's put about just like the animal rights aside just for a little bit, because you know, all these animals are being fed, you know, hormones, and they live in pretty bad conditions like cages and, you know, with very small spaces. And so let's just put this aside for a while. We just have to look at how the government is just not facing the truth, and that itself shows how inefficient our government is and how political our government is. And then in the end, people's health, animals' rights, and then the whole economy actually would suffer from just not facing the truth.
Right. And I mean, it even said in this article that the DPP was saying, like, you know, Ma Ying-Jeou has had a really bad record with dealing with this type of situation, like mad cow disease, bird flu, when he was a Taipei mayor with, you know, mad cow disease. Or no, I'm sorry, it was avian flu.
Right.
They're just, you know, a bunch of different things that he's just, you know, having a problem dealing with. And if he can't be accountable, you know, to people that live in his own country that, you know, would maybe have voted for him before, but now why would they? Because, you know, his government is concealing this.
A lot of the experts are actually saying Ma is not putting the emphasis on the agricultural developments, instead investing in more of a like the big enterprises that actually are, like the DRAM, are actually suffering from not getting the orders, because we're always manufacturing for people, not having our own brands. So we also suffer a lot from the euro debt. So that's also, I think our country is having a dilemma dealing with what industries we want to support, and they probably want to choose the, you know, easier targets to sacrifice. I think sometimes you just really have to let go to actually, in order to gain. Like now people really don't have confidence in our government, and that really itself is creating this vicious circle.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the other thing too is that, for example, in Canada, we're kind of an agricultural nation. So it's easy for us to say, okay, focus on agriculture. Because Canada's so big, there's so much country, and there's so many people that have farms, that's really easy for us. But Taiwan's got both. So it's kind of hard to know, you know, which direction to turn in. But hopefully, you know, this has happened so soon after the re-election. Hopefully this thing will still stay in people's minds for a couple of years when, you know, they go back to vote again.
We don't have much time.
Well, sorry. I mean, I forgot about 2012.
Okay. All right. Okay. Bye.